Okay, well I've already benchmarked this game a few times, but this time we're doing it on Ultrawide. I figured why not try out 3440 by 1440, since that is more demanding than normal 1440p and less demanding than 4K. Also, there was a new patch this morning. Now the patch notes that I looked at didn't seem to say they were addressing any performance issues, more looked like gameplay bugs and things like that. But I figured, you know what? Let's give this thing a shot. Now, I thought I had chosen a medic character, so I was just holding 3 to try to self-heal. Apparently that didn't work. All right, so this is currently on Ultra settings at 3440 by 1440. We're on the RX 6800 XT graphics card, and the CPU matters a whole heck of a lot in this game. So if you have this same GPU, you might still get CPU bottlenecked. This is an R9 5950X that I'm using, and I've got 32 gigabytes of CL16 timing, 3600 megahertz RAM, and I just got shot. So I'll go ahead and show you guys the settings that we were playing at there. That was Ultra, and VSync off. I have future frame rendering on, although in my testing it hasn't really done much. And you know what? Since we're on a death, we might as well drop this down to high settings. It looked like at Ultra we were still, for the most part, GPU bound. We could see our GPU usage up in the mid-90s. Although I'm curious, as we lower settings, if we start to run into more of that CPU limit. This is not really a gun for that range. Okay. Oh, well, we got another death. Look at that. Any teammates here? Can you save me, guys? I apparently cannot be saved. Well, the nice thing is here at high settings, at least while I'm sitting here dying, I'm giving up on my teammates saving me. We were saying over 100. I think we need to test out high a little bit more, since that was a pretty short lifespan. Also note that every map performs a little bit differently. There's a bunch of enemies there, and I do not have a long-range weapon. Anyway, every map performs a little bit differently. Also, as you get into some extreme weather effects, sometimes that can have a big performance impact. So then it's, you know, there's the question, is it worth it to have the big weather effects? You also have the question, you know, was it worth it having 128 players? But those are questions beyond the scope of this video. This video is more about our performance. All right, well, sorry I'm not getting you guys the greatest gameplay here, but let's go ahead and drop it down to medium on the settings and see how we're doing. I feel like I'd rather be this medic person, and I'd rather have a sniper rifle. That's how I'm feeling about things. Let's redeploy. Okay. Looks like we're hovering around the 115 to 120 range. Looks like we're up over 120. So looking at medium settings, we are certainly able to do some pretty good frame rates. Got him. See, I needed the range. That was my problem. Also, I can self-heal now. And apparently I got shot, too. Let's try self-healing again. Yeah, performance here on medium feels really solid. Drivers-wise, I am on the Battlefield 2042 drivers. What is that? The 21.11.2. I have a rocket. I could try to take this thing out. I feel like I'm gonna get sniped while I'm doing this, but you know. I disabled a part, guys. One more shot. I really dislike vehicles. Can we take it out? Well, that's all I can do. Hopefully somebody else can finish him. Okay, big explosion, and we only dropped down to 98. That was good. Got him. I don't know. Let me know if you guys enjoy the ultra-wide content. I don't usually benchmark ultra-wide because I'm not, you know, I know the audience for ultra-wide is fairly small. So we'll see how this video does. And I'll decide if it's worth doing on other games. Heck, I might do it anyway, even if it doesn't get views, because this channel is just a hobby. I can make videos on what I want. All right, let's go ahead and drop down to low settings. And that's an enemy, I believe. So let's redeploy. By the way, in my CPU testing, I have noticed that dropping the settings, including down to low, can sometimes reduce a bit of the CPU load as well as the GPU load. So even if you're CPU bound, don't necessarily assume you should put all the settings to ultra, because some of them can affect the CPU. I should have hit that shot. That was bad. Oh, come now. I feel like I'm gonna die. Let's self-heal. That's an enemy, isn't it? Got him. I don't know how he didn't kill me first, but we got him. Got him too, finally. All right, the performance is looking good, and actually it does look like we are, for the most part, GPU bound, although occasionally we drop down to like 90%, which indicates that there's occasionally a CPU limit happening. I have noticed that this CPU, it can struggle. It can get up into the 150s or even up past that in certain scenes, but there are a lot of scenes where it'll struggle to get much past the, 130 to 140 range. The game will only use 8 threads, which is why you'll see that when I'm CPU limited, my CPU usage only reports at 25%, but that's because this CPU has 32 threads. That guy was jumping around way too much for me to snipe. I need to get better. All right, well, the performance down here at low is awesome. So one thing, by the way, that I don't think I did in any of my other videos is this game does have dynamic resolution scaling. So if I wanted to target 144 Hertz, we could try turning on dynamic resolution scaling at 100% of my monitor's refresh rate. My refresh rate is 144 Hertz. So let's actually try that out and see if the game can get me to that, that refresh rate or not by rendering at a lower resolution. It won't work if we reach a CPU limit. Notice that my GPU is into the 80% range, but my refresh rate isn't always hitting 144. That's because a dynamic resolution scale will lower the GPU usage, but can't help me on the CPU usage. Which, as a little fun fact, is why the developers, to my knowledge, have stated that the consoles can't hit a... Oh, I got that! I am so happy with that headshot. Anyway, on another note, that's why the consoles, I believe, can't hit 120 Hertz performance mode, is that the CPUs in the console can't hit 120 Hertz stable, even if they lower the graphics settings and resolution, because it's a CPU limit, not a GPU limit. Yeah, it's looking like the res scale can sometimes help me hit 144, but too often it's a CPU limit, so it's not really doing a whole heck of a lot for me. Well, I had the one good snipe, and apparently I can't do much after that. All right, settings-wise, I feel like the resolution scale is not doing the job. It's just making the graphics look a lot worse, but it's not gaining as much performance over straight-up low settings without the res scale. So I don't think that's worth it when you're hitting up against your CPU limit. I hope that we eventually get another patch that helps with the CPU performance, because this one clearly didn't. Very much not an improvement on my CPU usage here. Really? There's an enemy here, isn't there? I thought I pulled out my pistol. Apparently I pulled out a grenade. All right, guys. Well, what would I actually play on here? Let's try out Ultra one more time. Now that we're a little bit more into the combat situation, let's look at where we're at with Ultra, because honestly, this game does look fantastic. I think the graphics are very nice. Now, the art design, I feel like, was actually better in Battlefield 5. Like, I feel like if they had made those maps using these graphics, it would have looked better. I feel like these look a little bit bleak, to be honest. So the art direction I find uninspiring, but the graphics themselves are pretty cool. And if I can stay near 100 FPS, to me it might be worth it in order to get those absolutely cranked visuals. Come on. Ah, pistol did not get the job done. So yeah, honestly, I think at 3440 by 1440 on this GPU, I might go with the ultra settings. And the other one that's pretty tempting to me is medium. Medium does look better than low, but I feel like it was already getting us pretty close to the limit of my CPU anyway. So for you, depending on your CPU, you might want to figure out how far can your CPU go and set your settings accordingly, but keeping in mind that some of the settings do seem to have some impact on the CPU limit as well. All right, guys, I think this video is going on long enough. We've already established the fact that I can only occasionally hit headshots. I hope all of you have an excellent day.